In this position, it seems that white has a breakthrough here because of the pawn majority in the queen side. But you have to beware of the consequences, because after white pushed that pawn to a4, there is an immediate king to g3. After that push, there is now h5. And look, push, 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 push. And here after queening, black will win after checkmate. You can't move your king and it's all over. But taking back to this position, much better if you will play pawn to f6. What is the idea? Because after pawn captures that pawn in f6, king will just capture that pawn in g2 and there is no more checkmate. And if, for example, in this position, if white will capture that pawn, that would be a sure draw because there is king to g5 now. Even though in the queen side you have pawn majority and you can create a pass pawn, still white can go to f6, push to a4, black can just catch up that pawn, and this pass pawn can't be promoted. That is why in this game, the pawn to f6 is a very clever move, because once the black captures that pawn in f6, there is king takes, and after king here, we can now start to break through the position. After pawn takes, king to f5, pawn push. After king to e5, you need to play d6 in order to stop the entry of the king, and this move will make him unable to enter into the square of the pawn, because once he take that, we can just move that pawn to c6. Of course, he will take that, and now we will now start to push the pawn in a5 after king here, and we will push that pawn to a6. This is the square of that pawn, and his king cannot go inside of that square. Very sure that he cannot catch up that pawn. After that king here, the pawn is now going to promote. Very sure that black is losing in that position.